Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Training Thursday for Thursday, July 5th. My God, what a week we've had, Carrie.
It's been quite the week. There was a day off on Monday and everything. It was very exciting.
Partying, Canada Day celebrations. We hope you enjoyed your Canada Day. I'm Jordan Bateman. I'm the Director of Communications for the Independent Contractors and Businesses Association, and I'm joined by
Carrie Vital, the Project Coordinator for the Training Department at ICBA.
ICBA. We train more than 3,500 people a year. That doesn't count our 1,200 apprentices. We're the single largest sponsor of trades apprentices in the province of British Columbia, putting the next generation to good work,
Exactly.
good family supporting work. Hey, Carrie, we're going to talk about navigating human rights law.
We are indeed. It's a breakfast session.
Yes, which you guys have, it's a little bit of a dry thing. It's important that people know about it, but it's not the most exciting topic, so why not give people breakfast?
Well, I think bacon probably makes everything better. Not as a vegetarian, but for most people, I'm assuming.
It does. It does. Even some vegetarians I know cheat with bacon. July 18th in Burnaby. And so basically this is about what to do when people request or need some sort of human rights accommodation. So a lot of work, case law, a lot of businesses have really progressed on this over the past 10, 20 years, trying to accommodate everyone in the workforce. Tell me a little bit about what the course will cover.
So things like human rights protections in BC, employers' legal obligations, when you have to accommodate something, when and how to investigate a human rights complaint, and then if you do unfortunately get a complaint against you, how to respond to a complaint filed with the tribunal.
Yeah, if you ever want to have an entertaining time, read some of the Human Rights Tribunal complaints that get thrown out. There was one. There was one that got thrown out because it turns out it's not a human right violation to force people to wear shoes at the gym. That was a great one. There's
like a safety issue.
All sorts of every once in a while there's some like strange human rights tribunal complaints, which is unfortunate because it does take away from the important ones where people's rights are actually being trampled.
That's true.
And we obviously take that very seriously. So yeah, human rights protections in BC, your legal obligations, all that good stuff. ICBA.ca/training. Now, Carrie, it's summer.
It is.
It's vacation time.
It is indeed.
In the old days, you'd kind of you'd go out, you'd go to Chapters or Indigo, you'd buy yourself a couple books for vacation. But now
I still do that. Just saying.
Yeah, I still do that too. Oh, by the way, what are you going to read on vacation?
I think I'm going to have to read the Stephen King on writing book.
Oh.
I'm very excited about it. I took that home with me last week. I haven't made it to it quite this week yet, but I'm looking forward to it on my vacation.
Yeah, if you're into writing at all, Stephen King's On Writing, I think, is probably the best book about writing that I've ever read. I try to read it once every 18 months because it renews my love for writing.
Nice.
What makes me want to write more. I'm not the world's biggest Stephen King fan. I mean, I've read Shawshank Redemption and a couple other short stories, but I'm not a horror guy, so I don't read a lot of it. But man, that book, which talks about his journey, a little bit about his wife's journey as well as writers. I mean, here's an English teacher who was working on Carrie. His first big novel, had it in the desk drawer and would kind of type away hundreds of rejection letters, all this great stuff, and then he makes it big.
Yeah.
But he talks about his experience writing and then also about some of his rules for writing, both of which. So Stephen King's On Writing. But let's recommend to folks some holiday podcasts, vacation-y podcasts.
Sounds a good idea to me. It's a good time to kind of binge a few episodes at a time.
Exactly. Now, you and I are into the true crime podcast. Which
we are indeed.
I think really the strongest genre of podcasts out there now.
Oh, absolutely.
And one we've talked about before is In the Dark. If you haven't listened to In the Dark, do it. It'll drive you absolutely insane. I'm going to say it, In the Dark is better than Serial.
I enjoyed Serial season 1 because it was actually really my first introduction to podcasts.
It was pioneering. It was trend-setting for sure.
Exactly. And I never really listened to podcasts before. I had the app on my iPhone. I'm kind of like, okay, I didn't really do anything with it. And then my brother actually recommended saying, hey, listen to Serial. You love crime. That sounds really scary when I say it like that. Not the point. So I kind of binged it in about a week and a half, and so that was my first run. Sorry, but I didn't really like the second season of Serial, and I don't know what's going on if they're going to do a third one or if they just kind of.
But Serial season 1 was obviously trend-setting about pioneer podcasts, but In the Dark is just some incredible journalism. So In the Dark is one. Another one you and I are listening to is The Cover-Up, which tells the story of Teddy Kennedy, Mary Jo Kopechne, and what happened that night in Chappaquiddick.
And it wasn't something I was familiar with. I don't know if that's just a Canadian thing or what that is. But I knew someone had died because then around the time that he passed away, I saw a whole lot of things about like, oh, this was his legacy, and then someone died. And so I was like, oh, hey, it's by People magazine. I love my junky People magazine from time to time, another summer reading situation. Thinking, okay, download one of the episodes and thought it was fantastic. Good. So
it's very good. It's very good. I'm curious where it's going. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And the new episode dropped, I think, this morning, so I haven't heard it yet.
The only guy who really knows what happened that night is Teddy Kennedy, and he's passed away, so I'm not sure how that happens. But we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of a podcast called Crime Writers On.
Yep.
It actually started during Serial. 4 writers, 1 a fiction writer, 3 true crime authors. They get together and talk about the latest in true crime podcasts and shows and all of that. Crime Writers On is a fantastic one. If you're a writer at all, you'll love it especially.
Yep, you introduced that one to me, and so I've been listening to several episodes lately. So yeah, it's another thing for me to listen to. I've probably got about 70 million podcasts on my phone right now, but that's okay.
And then one fun one that I would recommend, if this is all too serious, if true crime is too much of a downer on your vacation, I get that. Try This Is That from CBC. So it's a news parody.
Okay.
And they actually play it on CBC radio, and not everyone realizes it is a parody. But there's some hilarious stories they've covered. The Red Deer City Council decides to build MMA fighting octagons in local parks so kids can work out their aggressions on each other.
Nice.
And then they interview this very nice city council woman who's like sounds so sweet, but she's like, oh, I've been in there. I roughed up the deputy mayor just last week. It's hilarious. There's one about a Vancouver condo tower where the guy forgot to build the bathrooms in the tower. And he's like, folks, there's this is affordable housing, and there's a Starbucks right across the street. I don't know what the problem is. Hilarious stories like that.
I'll have to find it.
One about Ontario parks where they rip out a bunch of trees and put in a bunch of AstroTurf to make it look better for Instagram, which is fantastic. So yeah, This Is That. It's hilarious. It's also my daughter Indy's favorite podcast. She and I dragged my wife out to a live show in Vancouver.
Oh,
Two guys, two radio guys to do all the voice, to do all the improv. The only thing that's real about the show is the phone calls that they play from previous episodes where people call in and talk about how crazy they are. There's another great story where drug dealers, because now they're legalizing marijuana, they want a bailout from government because they built that market and now they're going to be out of a job. Just hilarious, hilarious kind of stuff. I'm not a big fan of most of CBC's humor, but This Is That is comic gold. So yes, there you go. Navigating Human Rights Law. Breakfast session July 18th. icba.ca/training.
Do some reading, listen to some podcasts, have a good vacation. Hopefully you had a good Canada Day, and I guess we'll chat with you next week.
Happy July!